the company itself, it is in fact the 5th largest domestic pharma company. It's a well-established company. For example, it's amongst the top 10 pharma companies for the past 12 years in India. And largely domestic sales are around 75% of its sales. It's just about starting to grow in the US markets. So it's grown from sales of around 10 million in FY11 all the way to around 100 million in FY15. Now, international sales are around 25.3% of their total sales, and they expect to build it up even further by focusing more on the US markets going forward. Now, in terms of the valuations, it's interesting for Alkem because in terms of valuations, if you look at
it... Ekta, actually, we have the management, so why don't we go to them? Thank you very much for giving us the backdrop. Now let's invite Prabhat Agrawal, the CEO of Alkem Laboratories, to speak about the company itself. Mr. Agrawal, could you start by taking us through the details of the IPO? How much are you looking to raise? How much have you raised through anchor investors? Who's selling and what would be the shareholding of the promoters post the IPO?
The transaction is 10.75% of the company, which is primarily offered by non-promoters. Out of 10.75%, 1% is being offered by the promoters and 9.75% is from other shareholders. In terms of issue details, the total book 50% is reserved for QIB, 35% for retail and 15% for high net worth individuals. Out of the 50% of QIB, 50% is reserved for anchor investors, and we have received a very strong anchor demand yesterday, and we are very happy to see some of the top names both from domestic mutual funds and domestic funds and international FIIs putting it a very strong demand for anchor book.
Okay, so coming to the business then, could you tell us your position in the domestic market? What is the current growth rate that you're clocking in, and which would be your strongest segments and brands?
As far as the domestic market is concerned, we are the 5th largest pharmaceutical company in India. Apart from being the 5th largest, we are also the 3rd fastest growing company in India. If you rank top 10 companies in terms of growth rates achieved over last 5-year period, we would stand 3rd in that league table. For last 5 years, our domestic growth rates have been in the region of 17.5%. This growth is built on top of very strong brands that we have created over many years. Among the top 50 brands in the country, we have 5 brands. No other company had more than 5 brands in the last fiscal year in the top 50 brands in the country. We also have 16 brands in the top 300 brands in the country. Each of these brands are very iconic brands, and are leaders in their own molecule categories.
Okay, in that case, how many of your brands, Mr. Agrawal, or percentage of business is under the national list of essential medicines? And would not that be a risk? How will you mitigate that risk?
We haven't disclosed exact number of brands under the national list of essential medicines, but I can tell you that a small portfolio of our domestic business is covered under Anilium, and some of the brands fell under Anilium in the last price control order received in 2013, and we have been working on adjusting our cost base on those brands.
Okay, your international markets have expanded at a rapid rate. Does the company have further plans to expand? And will that be primarily via the organic route or inorganic route? And if it is the inorganic route, what would be your strategy?
If you look at our domestic business, it is more an organic growth story. We have built the business in India based on our own efforts and focus on building brands, building people, building sales and distribution infrastructure in the company. While international business is more a combination of both organic and inorganic efforts. For last few years, we acquired around 3 companies in US for different reasons. One of the company gave us the commercial platform to enter into US market. Most of the acquisitions that we have done in the past are capability acquisitions rather than revenue acquisitions, and we would continue on the same strategy going forward as well.
All right, we'll leave it at that. All the very best for your listing. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Agrawal. Well, the commodity markets have begun trading, and since this is such a